last weigh-in of 2021. Also, a special bonus from me to you. Today on Meema McLiving Healthy. I hope you'll stay tuned. Hello. I know it's been about 2.5 weeks since you've seen me, but I'll explain that in just a moment. Today is the last weigh-in of the year 2021. I have to admit to you, I'm glad this year is almost over. To be perfectly honest, I'm glad the last 2 years are almost over. I'm ready for a new year, a new beginning, and a new time that I can spend with you. So I'm hoping that 2022 will be a banner year, not just for me, but for all of you also. Before I go into my weigh-in results, which it's a results, that's for sure, I have a special thing to share with all of you that are watching me today. Whether this is the first time you've ever watched me or you've been watching me for 2 years. I just want to share a little bit with you of what has been happening in our lives these last 3 weeks. As most of you remember, the last video I posted was on Tuesday, December 14th. My precious daughter-in-law had agreed to substitute for Papa in the Tag Tuesday. Little did we know what we were about to be facing. Within about 24 hours of when I posted that video, our lives were completely turned upside down. My son was involved in a serious one-vehicle accident on Wednesday, December the 15th, where his truck flipped upside down. He was less than a block away from his own home, and yet he could not tell the police, the state troopers, the EMTs, even what his name was. So he was loaded in an ambulance, and they rushed him to a little town about 2-3 miles away, and he was airlifted by helicopter to a trauma center in a larger city about 45 minutes away from us. Approximately 30 minutes later, my daughter-in-law was made aware of this, and she called me as soon as she could and made me aware of it. Now, as all of y'all know, I believe in providence, and I will spend a whole video soon about how providence played a part in everything that happened on that day and for the next week. But today, I'll just say God had his hand in many things from December the 15th until December the 22nd. Papa had just got home from his work that had taken him out of town, and he drove daughter-in-law and myself to this town 45 minutes away. By this time, daughter-in-law's mother had made the hospital aware of what my son's name was, because for the first few hours that he was there, he was known as John Doe. I don't think that had ever clicked with me before, that how John Doe is somebody that nobody knows who he is. And my son could not tell them who he was. He had received a hard lick on the right side of his body that involved his head, his neck, and his ribs. He broke his neck, he broke his clavicle, and he broke several ribs, all on his right side. And the two back arteries leading to his brain were injured. Now that's all I'm going to say about it right now. He was in bad shape. They intubated him and put him in the trauma ICU overnight. We got there and probably finally got to see him toward late afternoon. He has no memory of us even coming to see him that night. When he woke up the next day, he wondered why we hadn't come. Well, daughter-in-law and I drove up there that morning and stayed with him that day. We could have one person in ICU at a time, and so we swapped out several times during the day. He progressed very well, even with the brace on his neck and with the trauma to the back of his head. He did have some little stroke activity, so they had put him on a blood thinner. And by Sunday, they were going to do a CAT scan on him to see if he would be able to go home the next day. Little did we know what we were about to face. He had the CAT scan on Sunday morning, and when I walked in his room, I knew something was horribly wrong, because both my son and my daughter-in-law were wiping away tears. And I knew that didn't mean that he wasn't going to get to go home today. I knew it meant something worse. But I wasn't really prepared for what it was. They had been told that the CAT scan showed a mushroom cloud aneurysm located somewhere on the right side of his neck or under his clavicle. I'm not exactly sure where it was, but it was somewhere in this area. And during the time that he was in the hospital, I had reached out to several people and asked them to pray, mainly my close family members, but I had also reached out to some of you. I had left a comment in the community letting you know that I was going to be gone for what I was hoping for was just a few days. It turned out to be about 2.5 weeks. I was beside myself. You know, when we got over the initial shock of the wreck, we never once thought that he was in really bad danger until we heard about the aneurysm. And as I've shared with y'all before, I have read a book twice this year called 40 Days to a Joy-Filled Life. That book is all part of the providence, and so I'm not going to go into a lot about it, but there was a time where it asked me to write down some scriptures about myself, about how God loved me, how God loved us, and how He had picked us specifically to live the life He wanted us to live. And 2 of those scriptures I found out became very important to me during those days. One, which was taped underneath my TV in my bedroom, is Jeremiah 29:11. And this was a scripture that I prayed over my son several times, especially early on, and really after we found out about the aneurysm. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future. Now, if you'll notice on my shirt, the middle word is hope. The first one is faith, the middle word's hope, and then the bottom word is love. Not sure you can see it, but it says that. Those 3 words were really tested during that week. I knew that God wanted to give my son hope and a future. don't ask me how I knew it. The only way I can explain it is my faith. My faith gave me the assurance that he had hope and that he was going to have a future. Now, when they found out about the aneurysm, I began to get a little frightened. I wear a shirt ever so often and it says faith over fear. I found it last year and I've worn it several times to remind me that my faith has to be stronger than my fear. That's the opposite of fear. Faith. Faith is the opposite of fear. On Monday, we were told he would have a procedure. Because of his broken neck, they could not do a conventional surgery. They had to go up through an artery and repair the aneurysm that way. It was a very serious procedure. They used the word life-threatening more than once. And for me to hear life-threatening and my son's name in the same sentence was very disheartening. And that's all I can say. You know, I'm a mother. And even though he's 42 years old, I'm still his mother. I still remember him as a little boy. And so anyway, I can't make this story short. It's already too long. He didn't have the procedure on Monday. We kept thinking they were coming in anytime. They didn't. Finally, a vascular surgeon did come in and speak with him and said that there were two possibilities of what they would be doing the next day. Well, that sort of gave us a little more of this hope here, because at one time they only offered one procedure and it was very precarious, very hard to hear it because it wasn't a real fix. It was a temporary fix and he would have to have other procedures. So when she came in and said that there were two choices depending on what the aneurysm looked like when they got in there, that's what they would do. But he wasn't going to have the procedure that Monday. He would have it the next day. Well, we got up early the next day, hoping that they were going to come get him early. But in some ways, I didn't want them to come get him early. I wanted him to get through with it and go through it and do everything. But I was still a little afraid. No, I was a lot afraid. So, another scripture that has been taped above my oven since September that I read every single day came to my mind. It's from Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. And it was the scripture that I needed. I had given my son the Jeremiah 29:11 verse the very first day I saw him in a regular room. But this verse, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, I needed it. And the scripture says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Submit to him in all your ways, and he will make your paths straight." You see, I could not lean on my own understanding during this time because I was scared. And so I had to trust in the Lord with all of my heart and not lean on my own understanding for me to get through this. For me to have any sense whatsoever, I needed to just turn it over to the Lord. And that's what I did. It wasn't easy. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, I did a great job of it and I was the Rock of Gibraltar all day long. No, when they were rolling my son away for the procedure, I lost it. For just a split second, I lost it. Because I was a little frightened that that was the last conversation I was going to have with my son. But you know, I knew it wasn't. Just like I know my sister who went to heaven in February, that's not the last conversation I had with her. I will have many conversations with her throughout eternity. And God showed me that I'll have many conversations with my son throughout eternity too. So during all of this time, I have learned to trust in the Lord with all my heart and lean not on my own understanding, because He understands so much better than I do. We were told that my son would be gone for an hour, and 2.5 hours later, we began to get a little apprehensive, to say the least. My husband, Papa, went out in the hall and asked if there were any word. There wasn't, but luckily within 10 minutes, my daughter-in-law received a phone call, and there were 2 or 3 words in that phone call that made all the difference in the world to me. And it wasn't the words you would think. It wasn't, "He did great. We're going to keep him here and watch over him closely for the next few minutes." That wasn't it. What it was is they said, "And he wanted to make sure that you knew he was okay." So I knew that meant that not only was he awake, but he was able to convey it to others that he wanted his wife to know he was okay. So, less than a day later, my son was on his way home. We had our Christmas miracle. I told Papa it was the best Christmas gift I had ever received. So I wanted to share that with all of y'all. And once again, like I said in the first video after I came back after my sister's death, I have assurance that I know that this is not the end. That life continues not in this realm, but in the next. And that we will see our loved ones again. And if you don't have that assurance, please email me. I put my email address in every one of the description boxes that I put. So please email me and ask me, and I will share my assurance with you. Okay, that is my special bonus to each and every one of you. Now, here is my weigh-in update. If you're still here, you know, this is not a good weigh-in update, but it is what it is. 3 weeks ago, when I made my last weigh-in video, I weighed in on December the 9th at 112 pounds. I struggled to track while my son was in the hospital. I tried to. I just struggled, and I got almost no exercise. So from the time that I weighed in on December the 9th until December the 23rd, I had gained 2.2 pounds. I weighed in at 114.2. I wasn't expecting to gain that weight. Now, I had shared with y'all that I planned on enjoying the holidays, and I knew I would probably gain some weight this week from Christmas until New Year's. Well, today when I weighed in, I had gained another 5 pounds because I weighed in at 119.2 today. That's still under my happy weight, so I have to be happy about it. But I did not mean to gain 7.2 pounds in 3 weeks' time. I've got a little splaining to do, and the only way I can explain it is I didn't track. I've said this over the years, I will always have to be on Weight Watchers. And the main reason I will is I have to track. I have to honestly be able to track my food, or I will gain weight. So, that's the way it was this week. I think all of you have found out now that I'm human, that I do gain weight. I don't just lose it, because I gained a lot of it in 3 weeks. Now, I don't have any plans in losing a lot of that weight that I gained, but I'm hoping I can sort of stay around 120 for a while. You'll have to tune in next week to see if I accomplish that. Hey, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. We're still trying to get to that 1,000 subscriber number so that I can have live videos. I'm really trying to learn how to do it, and I'm excited about what we'll be able to do once I can. So you gotta subscribe and press the notification bell so that you'll get all my videos. Leave a comment below, and please share this video. Please share this video if you know anyone that could learn from my experience these last few weeks. May you each and everyone have a wonderful and safe New Year. Goodbye.